Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Really Cool Podcast. My name is Andrew Pakatowski. I'm here today with Max Nebula.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you coming. Max Nebula is a. What are you these days, Max Nebula? Scoot
I
over a little bit.
got you.
Get a little cozy. Yeah.
There we go. Right now, I'm currently writing a book. So about 3/4 the way done with that. It's a fantasy novel, and then on top of that, I'm doing marketing, and I run a digital writers group, and probably about to start writing like a in-person one in Left Bank Books in Central West End.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty interesting. You're the only person in my hemisphere of social connections that is an author. The first author that we've had on the podcast, and it's I don't maybe I'm just like not around the right people. It seems like something that like people aren't writing books used to be the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, definitely.
and it seems like something that people are going away from. But personally, I love to read. I normally read like I don't really love to read. I just do it because I know it's good for me. But I read a lot of like nonfiction shit.
Nice.
Um,
What kind of nonfiction do you like?
A lot of like psychology stuff, neurology, sociology, things that kind of fall into those fucking categories. A lot of like self-help stuff, and a lot of history stuff too. I've been reading this great book recently called Mein Kampf. It's
Some light reading.
it's some light reading. It's just
You learning a lot from that?
oh yeah, the guy has a very interesting and I feel realistic perspective of the world.
Quite a point
Um,
of view.
but no, a lot of history stuff for sure. I read this book, Empire of the Summer Moon. You ever heard of that one?
Definitely. That's a good ass book.
That's a fucking baller ass book. I didn't know
Highly
none of this
recommend to
shit.
anybody listening. Definitely pick that one up.
Yeah, that's a good one. But your shit is called Into the Raging Storm, right?
It's called The Raging Storm.
The Raging Storm.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't. Could I read it on a Kindle?
If I send it to you over email, yeah, you could upload it onto Kindle. Yeah, I've
Okay.
done that for some people.
I might have you do that for me because I don't buy a lot of books. I have the Scribed app, which is
What's that?
fairly clutch. It's like Spotify. It's like okay, so it's like SoundCloud for books because you know how
Oh shit,
SoundCloud doesn't
nice.
have a lot of like the newer like really poppin' music on it. It's kind of like a lot of underground, more low key shit.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
definitely.
kind of like that, and you can get I think you can get titles on Scribe that are more popular, but you have to like pay for them. Like I tried to get Will Smith's biography on it, and it was only in Spanish. So there's a lot of like
That's
there's
very specific.
yeah. So there's a lot of shit's missing on it, but you can find a lot of good stuff. It's got audiobooks and then PDFs, but I have a hard time reading the PDFs on my phone. I have to do it on my Kindle.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
But yeah, there's a couple different ones that are similar to that concept. The one that I currently post all my stuff on is called Wattpad, Wattpad. Essentially, it's got like I think 4 or 5 million different books on it, and it's pretty much the same concept. It's like SoundCloud for books. So it's pretty much like you can build a portfolio, build it on there. They have a trending system, and they even they will sponsor you to get published once you hit like a certain benchmark. You can apply for it. There's also a uh, the I think it's called the Waddy Awards every year that you can like apply your book to. Which whoever hits that is guaranteed get published. So they have like a bunch of different things on there. I'm not necessarily like using it with the intention of trying to get published through them, but I'm using it to because like instead, like think about it, back in the day, you had to write the whole book and then you have to like start building an audience, right? Like for a book that's already complete. It's like, how do you kind of go about that? You're like going to be sitting in no money for a really long time.
yeah,
Where I'm kind of like at this point now, I'm like with social media, Wattpad, things like this. It's like you can start building the audience as you write it.
yeah. That's what I was gonna bring that up next because the way you've dropped the book is so interesting. It's almost like a TV show where your chapters are episodes, and then you got it's got to build some anticipation and like urgency when you're dropping chapter by chapter and people are kind of waiting on the next one to figure out what happens with the story.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
fucking pissed me off if I was reading the book, but it's fucking
It's
that's a
better now because there's like I think I have like 26 out, so it's like you got like 6 7 hours straight of reading. So I
yeah.
mean, it's like you got some stuff to dive into. But yeah, when I was first going and I only had like 4 or 5 chapters out, yeah, I could definitely see why some people would be like, "Fuck, I'd rather wait till it's a little longer," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you always, because when we met it was through music.
Hmm.
You were doing a lot of music production, working with mainly No Offense, who we've had on the podcast before. Um
Shout out, no offense,
yeah,
that's my
shout out
guy.
No Offense. People enjoyed that episode. We had a really good conversation. Um but when I met you it was through music. I didn't know you were into writing at all. But I do feel like I vaguely remember you being into fantasy novels. I feel like you mentioned it a time or two just in passing.
Yeah, I got into writing or reading pretty much from like my parents were really strict growing up, so I'd get like banned from video games or something like that, and then I'd be like, "Well, books kind of like the next best escapism, right? Like you're
Yeah.
just like hop to the next thing. Oh, I'm grounded. Well, I'm sitting in my room reading. Then shit's chill." So I kind of like started off with that, and then I've always kind of had like a big imagination, so I kind of would like I remember in fifth grade we all got to like you draw your own pictures and then you had to make your own book. And I made one and it ended up getting first place like in and put in the newspaper. So from that I kind of like always knew in my back pocket I was like I might be like okay at this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was like maybe I should try this a little more.
And you've had some of your rankings on the Wattpad. I'm saying that right? Wattpad?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of your rankings on the Wattpad, like you're pretty high up.
Yeah, so it's based on not only your reads and votes and all that, but it's based on like how consistently you're posting. And I had a stretch there where I think I did 14 weeks straight of dropping at like a chapter with at least like 2 to 5,000 words in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so that really boosted me. I think I was like at number 8 for fiction on like the whole
That's
platform at
insane.
my peak. That was at my peak. It kind of like fluctuates now because I don't always post on a consistent schedule now.
So does it work like how Spotify works with playlist? Are there like do people have like I don't know like folders of books that they read, or is there an
Yeah,
algorithm that pushes new content to you?
yeah, both. So they essentially there's like three major ways, like there or maybe four. One major way is there's the tag system. You can put like hashtags on your book, and like so you'd put like female protagonist, romance, like murder, stuff like this that like people would search for as like a type of book they would want to read or with that kind of content, and then that one will get promoted, so you can trend under the tag. Yeah, and so that's one. Another one is people run user awards. So like a user will be like, "Hey, I just like reading books on here, so I'm gonna like host an award system." They might have thousands of followers or whatever, and then if you win, you get promoted on their account for a while, and then everybody has a thing called a reading list, which is like, "Hey, this is what I'm reading." So
Okay.
some people are like tastemakers, you know what I mean, kind of like Instagram. So they'll post on there like oh, here's like my February reading list or whatever. And then Wattpad itself has like its own uh user, like they have their own genre list. So they'll be like Wattpad dark fantasy, like that's an account, right? It'll have like 20,000 followers or something. That person running that account will pick every month some books and you can apply for it. And I've gotten on that a few times as well.
Nice.
Yeah, you can only
Nice.
apply like once every like I think 6 months or something like that. They obviously don't want to keep rotating content too much. So
Yeah, that's fucking interesting, man. I'll have to give the book a look. I don't read a lot of nonfiction stuff, but I think if my homie's writing it, I gotta
yeah,
read
and
it.
I'm also not like super worried about it. Like I understand some people want to like read a finished product, which I totally get. So it's like if people want to wait till it's done, I totally understand and no hard feelings about it because or no rush, I guess is what I would say.
How close are you to being done with it?
So like the first big draft, I'm like 3/4 of the way done. But the way the process kind of works for the average person, especially someone that's newer at it, you kind of write one draft and then you're going to sit there and look at it and you're going to go, okay, like this is the character arcs I'm trying to get across. This is where I want the story to go. Did these impactful moments that I'm trying to make hit, did they hit properly? Wattpad is a useful thing for that. It's not good for critique, but it's great for general perception. So like, do people like this character that I want them to like? Do they like this moment that I want them to like or not like? You can kind of get general consensus based on reactions because they can comment in the per paragraph. So they can
Okay.
kind of be like if you have like a shit ton of comments on the part where some big thing happened, you're like, I mean, they must have done what I wanted it to. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So you can kind of like get a guess out of it.
Nice, nice. So, oh fuck, I had a killer question. I done forgot. Um, what was my killer question that I forgot? I don't know. I forgot. Uh,
It happens.
yeah, but yeah, it's definitely like an interesting thing to be into. Um, God damn it, it was such a good question too. Um,
Wait, so you said you do you ever read philosophy?
yeah, I read a little bit of philosophy. Mostly like a lot of the philosophy stuff I read is like it's not necessarily always about the philosophy. I read a lot of like historical profiles on
So like
ancient
on so like
philosophers.
on them and what they did in their life.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't philosophy can get kind of philosophy's tricky cuz if you go into reading a book on philosophy with a malleable perception and an open mind, a lot of times it'll kind of like for me it'll kind of like fuck up my certainty regarding certain things because I'll read
Mm,
one book that has this philosophy and I'll read this book that has a different philosophy and I'm like, well, both of these make so much fucking sense. Like,
yeah.
what
And
what should I believe?
yeah, and that's totally fair. But at the same time, I would say that's a good thing because it's like
Yeah,
you never really know your true beliefs with something until it's challenged, right? So
yeah,
so it's kind of like, oh, okay, I believe the world goes a certain way. Well, because there's like there's Stoicism, there's a bunch of other schools of thought at the time,
yeah,
and they all kind of like contrast each other. But if you notice, like over time, they all kind of like enveloped into they didn't I don't want to say they all enveloped into one because that's not true, but a lot of them kind of took the best parts of the other ones and
yeah,
like incorporated it within their own because they were like, yeah, maybe our philosophy, and I feel like that's kind of part of philosophy, right? Is like a good philosophy is going to go, yeah, we don't have all the answers to everything. So
yeah.
it's like we're going to be open to changing our mind about certain aspects.
A lot of it's like religion in the sense that like there's stoicism and nihilism, which in some regards are pretty similar, pretty different, but at the end of the day, a lot of philosophies kind of have like a lot of the underlying message is the same. Like with religion, the underlying message is usually like be good to people and fuck gay people and like
True, especially in the past. I mean, in Rome, they were kind of cool with it to a
yeah,
degree.
no,
So
in Rome they
yeah,
were pretty open minded. In Rome they were super sexual in Rome.
definitely, definitely, and Greece.
Yeah, I vaguely remember you being kind of a history guy too, right?
Well, yeah. So, like the way I like to, so I've always liked history, but the way I like to really learn about it is through historical fiction. So it's like I'll read a book that's like within a time period,
Okay.
and so it'll have its own narrative and everything, but you learn about the time period through the book, which is like a better, in my way or my opinion, way of learning because it's just more interesting.
Yeah, you have a story to attach to and like
Yeah,
a more
exactly.
like rigid arc.
Yeah, like
Um
there's this book called I think it's called River God by Wilbur Smith, and essentially it's like based in ancient Egypt, and the whole time it's like you're getting from the pharaoh. There's a character that's a pharaoh. There's a character that's a slave. There's a character that's like the wife of the pharaoh, and so you have like all these perspectives within the society, and so it's really cool because you kind of like if the book's good, they're gonna represent it as best as they possibly could historically, and so you're kind of like learning. It's like, oh, this is like what this person kind of had to deal with. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like how they all played into each other, and there's always like a philosophical aspect to it as well, which I personally really enjoy. That's like my favorite. I like books that have no meaning, and but my favorite books are always ones that kind of have like a point to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I
They're the
feel
ones
that
that
for
like stick
sure.
with you after a couple months.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Like think of an example, like The Alchemist.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I read that like once a year for real.
Yeah, it's I read it once. It's it's really like you can tell there's like a certain narrative that the author is trying to get across. And how what's the author's name?
Paulo Coelho.
Yeah, yeah. And he had some other books that he had one that I was really interested in. I forget the name of it, and I went to Barnes and Noble and I couldn't find it. And this is back before I had a
He's got
Kindle. I was
like
only reading
Way of Light, The Archer, um, The Pilgrimage. That's probably the one that you saw because it's like kind of looks the similar
yeah.
cover to The
Yeah.
Alchemist. Yeah, I work at a bookstore, so like a lot of these books, it's like even if I haven't read it, I like kind of keep up on the trend of it, so I'll know what's popular at least a little bit.
Passcode lock request has been initiated through customer call support at North recognized. I don't know what the fuck that is. Um what was I gonna say again? I got distracted. I need to start turning my ringer off when I do this. Oh, have you ever played Assassin's Creed?
Oh, 100%.
Assassin's Creed is bitching because it has that like historical
I
accuracy to
agree.
it. Yeah, I've been playing Valhalla, the new one.
How you feel about it? I played like half of it.
Oh, it's fucking amazing.
It's so fucking long.
It's one of my favorite video games ever.
Yeah, it's definitely good as fuck. I think the only reason I put it down was just how long it was. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, well, that's just video games now, man. I stopped playing video games in high school, and I want to say about 6 7 months ago, I got a PS5, and I've been into it hard. But like Red Dead 2 is a
10 out of
fucking
10 game.
long
Fucking
ass
love that game.
game, so you can get raped in it.
Yeah,
You can get raped in Red Dead 2. It's fucking insane.
yeah. That game is just like I also love like if anyone hasn't played and wants to play it, it's kind of like minor spoiler, but just the fact that like the sick arc, like him getting
Yeah,
and like watching that like play out, like that
yeah,
was such a cool concept. And I've only seen one other game do that. I think it was like Far Cry 2. Your guy gets malaria, so you'd be like in the middle of a gunfight, and you're like, gotta take my malaria pills.
yeah.
And I kind of fucked with that though. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah, since because he dies. I know it happens. I haven't made it to that part in the game. Doesn't
Mm.
he die and then you take over as John Marston?
Yeah, which is like it's a prequel to the first one, right? So
It's
it's
a prequel?
yeah, so this one the in the first Red Dead, you play John Marston after all the fact and you're hunting all of these characters in Red Dead 2 like to kill them cuz the government's going to kill your family otherwise.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so you're like you kill all of these characters and then now in this game or in Red Dead 2 you go back and you kick it with them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of sick. They don't ever mention Arthur. They kind of must have made Arthur up as like they were like, we don't know who to make the protagonist, um, so they must have made Arthur up because they don't ever really mention him. Um, but yeah,
Okay. I thought it was that's good to know. I thought it was the other way around because in the beginning of the game there's this whole like conflict between Arthur and John because John had spent some time away, and I thought that conflict was about like the first game because John was like all on his own.
oh that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
no,
that's interesting.
that's just his prequel story, I guess. He must have ran off and was like, yeah, man, fuck being in the gang. I want to have kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that game is so much fucking fun though. And it's like another one where there's historical accuracy to it.
Yeah, my favorite book I ever read is called Lonesome Dove. By or no, it's by fuck, I'm blinking on the name all of a sudden. It's like something McCarthy, but no, it's sad because my favorite book I can't remember. But the book is a western as well. So it's I just like character focused stories. Like I
Yeah.
like it's like big apocalyptic thing coming along, cool. But like it's more about the actual like dynamics between all the characters
Yeah,
and
well
how
you
that
get
plays
you
out.
get you get attached to
Yeah.
characters and stories like video games, movies, all that shit. The characters like the main focus. You got to have your protagonist to really get people hooked so people have somebody to relate to.
Yeah, that was a big problem when I first started writing. Is so I got a writing mentor from Barnes and Noble. He was an author that came and was doing a signing, and his name's David Putnam. Check him out if you like mystery thrillers type like James Patterson stuff like that. And he's got double digits books published at this point. Super nice guy, absolutely incredible human. And he kind of took me under his wing. And I remember I gave him my first, I think I had like 10 chapters done, and I gave him all, I printed them out and sent it to him. And there was more red ink on the thing than my writing. Like he just absolutely ripped it to shreds. And that shit hurt.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I was like, for a day, I was like, damn, I'm done. Like I
Yeah,
fucking suck ass. But at the same time, my girlfriend at the time and some friends, they were kind of like, yo, man, I mean, at the end of the day, he's kind of helping you speed run get better. And I was
yeah.
like, that is the correct point of view. And so I just kind of took that and rewrote the whole thing plus more, and it really helped me out, honestly, because but that was a big thing that he wanted to show me was he's like, you're writing the story for the plot. That's not what people give a fuck about. The plot's cool, but it's ultimately a vehicle for you to show the character arc for the character. So like, how does a character go from point A to point B, and why do they change through that? And the change can be bad, it can be good, it can be whatever the fuck you desire, but it ultimately has to be fulfilling for the reader.
Yeah, so where do you even start in terms of character development? Because I imagine like coming up with a whole fictional human being with a whole life story and a whole character and a whole value systems. Like it's a fucking lot.
Yeah, it is. It's really the big thing, like most things that are creative, is you got to take it one step at a time. A lot of people try and like look at the big picture too much, and then they get overwhelmed and they give up. The best way to do it is you just start one piece at a time. So, like how I came up with mine was I was living in Bali at the time, and I had a dream of like one specific scene. No character. Well, it was like vague outlines of a character. I didn't know what they look like or anything like that, but it was just like this like one scene. It really kind of like stood out to me, and I was like, damn, that would be really cool for an ending, right? Like I was like, oh, that'd be a cool end scene. And so then I just kind of like went backwards with it. So I was like, okay, so like, why is the main character there? Who is the main character? And YouTube is a powerful tool for anyone that doesn't use YouTube. Just YouTube literally anything, and it can help you speed run it better than school.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's just anything. YouTube is
Anything you could possibly want to learn.
such an insane learning
How to
tool.
make homemade condoms, fucking
Yeah,
I'm sure it's
be
on there. I've
careful with
never
that
searched it.
though.
Yeah.
The repercussions of fucking that up could be life changing
Yeah.
to say the least. Uh,
Yeah. So are you like when you started writing the book, did you kind of so you're saying you had this like vision for one scene. So when you
mhm.
started writing it, you didn't really have like an ending in mind. You didn't know, you didn't have kind of like it's going to start this way and it's going to end this way and you just kind of do it as you go.
Nah, like I had the scene and I was like, okay, I think this is the end scene. And then I kind of over time realized I'm like, oh, this is just the end scene to the first book. And so I was like, okay. And then so backwards from there, I kind of create the character. The best way to do it is you interview the character, right? So you use your imagination, make up which that you want them to look like based on what their role within the story is. And then you kind of go, okay, and then you interview the character kind of like how you're interviewing me here. You kind of go, okay, what do you like to eat? Like, what's a childhood memory of yours? What do you believe in religiously? Like things like this. And it's funny because you're obviously answering the questions, but
Yeah.
but the prompt gives you the ability. And then after doing that for like an hour with the character, all of a sudden you have a character that like you're like, well, I know people like this in real life, so how would they act? You know what I mean? And then you kind of get the temperament of the character. You don't like have to go with it, but you can. It gives you like a rough outline. Like if I had someone that wasn't religious, super outgoing, funny, but would be manipulative at times or things like that. It's like, okay, well, I could look in my own life, try and find someone that I like view as close as possible to that. And then I would go, okay, well, this is how that person would act in this scenario. This is how this person would act in this scenario. At least I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then you kind of get like a gauge of like what the character would be.
So do you have can you name drop any people in your personal life who characters in your book are based upon?
I would say, um, yeah, like my friend Kyle Winkler. Like
Okay.
he's a very like adventurous dude. So um I've definitely used just certain like personality traits from him or what he would do in a scenario because he's kind of an unpredictable motherfucker. So
He's a
I
funny guy. We're supposed to be having him on at some point.
yeah, he's a great dude. Love him. And so yeah, I just like he's an example of someone that I don't like always use someone verbatim. Like I don't
Yeah.
like to do that
Just
because
take like certain parts of
yeah,
their
just like certain
personality and
yeah, just
yeah.
certain like oh, what would they do in this scenario or something like that, and then it kind of gives me the just kind of gets the ball rolling.
So you lived in Bali.
Yeah, I lived in Bali, Hong Kong, and Thailand for like 5 months.
That's fucking awesome. What was that like?
Which one?
Starting with Bali,
Uh,
to do like chronological order of the places that you lived.
okay. Bali was it was really really incredible. In terms of the three places I just listed, it was my least favorite,
Okay.
but it's still awesome. It's very tropical. It's very cheap. It's a lot of Hinduism there, so because of that, all of the architecture is like built from stone a lot,
Okay.
which is really cool. It gives it a specific vibe, and it's really cool. I pretty much like all Asian food. Any like rice or noodle dish, I'm gonna fuck with
Yeah,
probably.
I hear that.
Yeah, so it's like the food was cool. Um, just driving around. So like in a lot of these Asian countries, you um, especially ones that aren't like Japan or China or Korea, you rent bikes. Like people mostly have motorcycles. Like it's like
Yeah, like little moped things.
yeah, exactly. And you can rent them for super cheap, like $20 for like a week or two. You know what I mean? Like super cheap. And so that's kind of like how you get around. That's just the best way. There's like no regulations. They're not like checking your anything really. They're just like, oh, you're 20 something. Sure, you know how to drive. You're from America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just assume. Yeah, and so you it was really cool. Like we would bike around back in the country, and you would just see people working in the rice paddies. It got a lot of elevation. At one point, we hiked a volcano, which was fucking awesome.
There's a lot of those in Indonesia.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And inside of it, trees were growing and monkeys were hopping all over them, which was fucking awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just insane. And like the clouds hit right under the tip of the volcano. So you're sitting above the clouds, and they have like a whole like station up there where they make you coffee and shit like that, and give you like hard boiled eggs so you can have breakfast and shit like that. So it was a really really fun experience. The one thing I didn't like about it, and I don't want to like offend anybody, but I just didn't like how they Disneyfied their culture a little bit. They just seemed like they were kind of like, hey, these are the aspects we know white people want to check
Yeah,
out
made it
for our
appeal to
culture. Yeah,
Americans.
and so
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, I don't know, like I've gone to other countries and they don't do that, and just going in a place where they do, it was just very like it was just kind of weird to me. I was like I was like, you guys, I feel like deserve more respect than you're giving yourself. Not that I guess they're not like disrespecting themselves by doing it. I guess they're just playing the money game, but it's still just it came off weird to me.
Yeah, a lot of that depends on the kind of industry within the country, cuz if you're in some place where tourism is like their main thing, tend to see a lot more of that. I know Jamaica does that pretty heavily. Oh, in Cairo or in Giza, the pyramids of Giza, they have like these pictures of the pyramids from a certain angle, and then if you like get on Google Maps and you look at the area surrounding the like desert going out to the pyramids, it's like KFC and McDonald's and like,
Yeah, that's so weird, right?
which is interesting because that's like the most magical place on earth probably. Those three pyramids are probably like, I don't know if it gets much more spiritually intense than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like obviously up there. I've actually met some people that are from Egypt, and also just a lot of people that go there. It's like definitely one of those like bucket list items, but
Yeah, for sure.
almost everyone that I know that has gone there and like travels elsewhere as well, they kind of said it was underwhelming.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on what you're looking for because there's more natural beauty in the world than you see in Giza for sure. I think in terms of uh human ingenuity and like things that humans have created,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
probably one of the more spiritually intense things you can witness. But yeah, I mean, there's from what I understand, there's really not much else to do in Egypt, because you're in the middle of the desert.
I
um
mean, riding a camel is pretty fucking sick
Riding a
though, let's
camel's
be
pretty
honest.
badass. Yeah, riding a camel's pretty badass, but I definitely see what you're saying there.
Because it's like, you're paying thousands of dollars to get there and like stay and all that. So it's like it's just you're thinking of like the cost effectiveness, and you're kind of like, well, obviously I want to see the pyramids, but outside of that, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like I mean maybe some museums, which is, I'm not trying to shit on Egypt, I'm sure it's like it's a
No,
great experience,
there's
I'm gonna go at some point
yeah,
regardless,
yeah,
but
for sure.
yeah.
There's definitely a lot of there's a lot. I mean, that Giza was just one part of it. There's a whole
Definitely.
fucking ancient culture there that we don't even know how fucking old it was. So
Right.
like there's a lot of really like historical ancient shit, a lot of ruins that you can check out, but um in terms of I guess like natural beauty and spending time outside and kind of like culture, it's a little like you go to some place like Thailand, it's a little bit more immersive, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, I say that as somebody who's never been to either of these places, but this is just what I'm imagining. So you went after Bali, you went to Hong Kong?
So I actually started in Hong Kong,
Okay.
and then we went to Thailand, and then we ended in Bali,
Were
which
you
it was right as like COVID hit. So the reason we came back was because of COVID.
okay? So when you were in Hong Kong, there was something they had like some kind of giant protest.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
that while you were there?
Yeah, I got caught up in one by accident
Oh
because
no
we
shit.
were at the mall and we like walked out of the mall and it's almost like how water when it comes into like a hallway it like and like it all of a sudden takes it over. It
Yeah.
was like that, but people.
Yeah, it's like you got caught up in the wave.
Yeah, exactly. It was honestly terrifying. Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, like the reason that was happening is because essentially Britain used to own Hong Kong, and then they gave it back like 30 or 40 years ago, and with the stipulation of like, hey, they get to be independent for 50 years.
That's so
Um,
weird. It's a
yeah,
weird deal.
yeah, right. I think it was for a transition phase, but it is weird no matter how you look at it. And so a lot of the architecture there is very reminiscent of Britain, which is cool. Um, but what happened is essentially China was just doing China things and was like, yeah, fuck that. And so in Hong Kong they speak Cantonese, and in China they speak Mandarin. So the way they would like systematically start getting rid of all of the heritage of the Cantonese people is they would just be like, okay, now the news is in Mandarin. School is only taught in Mandarin. Books are only in Mandarin. Your TV shows are in Mandarin. So it's like they would just like China's very good at like systematically.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they're very intelligent about how they go about things like that. They're not just like walking in the street shooting people. Like they're like, no, we're just gonna like force you to do this
Yeah, very,
because
very good at control.
how do you interact with the society otherwise? You know what I mean? Like you need the news, you need these things. Well, obviously we have the internet, but yeah, they just kind of like do all of that. So
That's interesting because I guess Mandarin's like because they do speak Cantonese in China too, right? But it's just like a lot less people.
yeah, I'm not like fully educated on it, so I don't want to say. I think it's definitely mostly a Hong Kong thing. Like people from Hong Kong might move into China, and then they obviously speak Cantonese with all their Hong
Yeah,
Kong
okay.
friends. But I don't know if there's any other large population within China itself that speaks Hong Kong or
Okay.
speaks Cantonese. Sorry, and I even know that like some of the students that came from China to Hong Kong, like there was like beef. You know what I mean? Like they didn't like necessarily just like get along.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a little bit of prejudice there. So
That's a really it's the most densely populated city in the world, right?
I actually don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's fucking insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Tokyo's the most populated. I think in terms of density it's Hong Kong. They have this I watched this documentary on a apartment building they have in Hong Kong. It's like a super slum. It's like, I don't know, probably maybe a building the size of this and there's like 30,000 people living in it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the way that it kind of goes is like it comes from the inland part and then it gets to the bay, and then across the bay is the Hong Kong island. The island is where all the rich people live. And then like middle class people live like right on the edge near the water in the bay, and then it just like class hierarchy as you
Gets
continue farther
progressively
away.
poor.
Yeah, exactly. Even the most poor area I went to though, like comparatively even to like St. Louis, it's not even comparative though, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, like
Really?
St. Louis definitely in its worst parts like looks way more destitute than anything I ever saw in Hong Kong. Now, granted, Hong Kong's huge, and I was only there for like a month or two, so it wasn't really like I saw everything, But
Yeah, it's one of those it's there's a lot of place or there's not very many places like that, like those city states. They're kind of it's an interesting place to be.
yeah, and
And
it
then
was dope because like you want to do business in China, billions of people there, right? Obviously, any capitalist person wants to do that,
but you don't want to live in
but you don't want
China.
to live in China,
Yeah.
So Hong Kong was that like nice middle part. Also, there's a place right next to China called Macau, which is like China, Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, and you could like take a boat there really easy. So it's like you could do your business in China and then go fucking gamble and fuck hookers in Macau if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's like they got all the options for you if that's what you're into. So
And then, so you went to Thailand in the middle.
yeah,
Started in Hong Kong, Thailand, Bali.
yeah,
And Thailand's the really interesting one for me because this is one of my top destinations. It's probably
it should be.
Poland, Giza, Thailand, and Italy.
Mhm.
And it's the thing that really, like, my initial appeal to Thailand was just cost. Vietnam's like this too, and I guess Bali's like this, Indonesia in general. But like,
Yeah.
I I planned years ago. I planned a hypothetical vacation to Thailand, and for like 2 grand, I lived like a king for a month.
Yeah, I mean, especially a couple years ago. Obviously, like everywhere is getting inflated, so it's like, and our money is decreasing in value. So it's like, it's definitely a situation that's switching up over time. But in general, it's still incredibly cheap. Like you can go, I don't know now, but when I went, you could like get a full body massage for like $7 for
Yeah,
an
and
hour.
you get like some real like
Like some good, like it's
some
like a good ass massage that you'd pay here for. Like honestly, I've had worse massages here for 50, 60, $70 than I did for $7.
yeah, and then the food's like $1 or 2 a dish.
Yeah, and it's all cooked by like a different grandma, which is like fucking
Yeah,
awesome. The grandmas be killing that shit. I mean, they be making the best dishes.
and the Airbnb. I was looking at an Airbnb in Phuket, which is funny because it sounds like fuck it.
It's pronounced Phuket.
Phuket.
Yeah,
Okay,
no worries.
still pretty close.
Close.
Um, but I was looking at Airbnb and I was like, Airbnb on the fucking water, bro, on the most beautiful beach you've ever seen in your life. And as long as you don't have a repeat of the tsunami, it's like fucking awesome.
Right.
And it's like, I was like 700-800 bucks for a month.
Yeah, it's just so cheap, dude. And they don't Disneyfy their culture. I mean, maybe in certain parts they do. Like I would say Phuket is maybe like one of the worst areas for that. But in general, yeah, the people of Thailand are incredible. Um, it's just an absolutely amazing place. It's like I've gone there twice, 2 separate times, and both time, like the second time I came back, it felt like returning to like a second home.
Yeah.
Like I really, 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 really like it there. It's really nice.
If I could find a way to work remotely, and I've thought about doing this, have some business ventures, and if it got to the point where they're self-sustaining, like definitely like migrating to somewhere like that, leaving America at least for a while.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I mean, I think this is like a common thing so many people consider. I don't blame you. One of the best ways to do this, if you ever want to live overseas, for even people listening, is there's a thing called TEFL, TEFL. It is
I'll
a
write that down.
Yeah, it's a program that you can get like within 2-3 months. I think you pay like a grand or two. I don't know if it's changed, and then you are allowed to speak or you're allowed to teach English. And English, people really want to learn that, so you can go over there and teach English. Now you're going to make money that is the money that someone that lives in Thailand makes. So you're not going to like be balling, right? But like say you saved up a lot of money and then you go and then you just use that to sustain you and pay your rent and then you have money that you've saved to like do whatever you want with. I think that's like a strategic way of going about it where you could make it last a really long time.
Is that how you did it?
No, that's not how I did it. I honestly just served and bartended for like 6 months straight. Didn't buy any weed or alcohol and never went out. And then I just went overseas and did it in a frugal esque way. I would have my weekends where I'd ball out, but overall, I was just like going to the beach, eating food, reading books, and kicking it.
Yeah. So you weren't working over there.
Nope, not at all.
That's the way to fucking do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm one of those people that I've realized this about myself is like over time I need to have something to do though. Like I think that's why I like writing is like it's cheap. All I need is my laptop really, right? Like and
Yeah.
I can do it anywhere. So I think that is a big reason why I enjoy it is because I can do it anywhere. So I always feel like even if I'm not working, I'm working, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a normal part of the human condition. I know when I like, even if it's just like not something that you're doing with the intention of ever having monetary gain in the future, like if I don't, if we miss doing the podcast, or I don't go to the gym, or I don't, if I don't have like some kind of sport that I'm playing or some kind of game that I'm playing or some kind of hobby, it's like you get all fucking discombobulated mentally.
Yeah, it's like it's that classic saying, right? Like, what's sunshine without a little rain? Like, what's
Yeah.
relaxing if you haven't earned it,
Well, that's where you get your dopamine kicks from accomplishing shit.
right?
So it's interesting. I've looked into some remote shit, and I don't know if I could go back to, because I'd have to take a pay cut for it, and I don't know if I could go back to it now just because I got like so many things I'm financially obligated to. But it's definitely, if like so if you do TEFL and you go over to Thailand to teach English, how do you do that if you don't speak Thai?
So most people in every other country know 2 to 3 languages, and one of those
Right.
languages is English. So even if they know like not a high level of English, it's enough where you could communicate. Plus, you have Google Translate, you have ChatGPT, you have like all these tools now. So it's like, I mean, if you want to accomplish it, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you do you have any Chat GPT stories? Have you ever?
Oh yeah, I've used ChatGPT a lot. That shit's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. I have four. I downloaded the app and I got the subscription to four.
Oh, nice.
And
What does the subscription give you? Does it just like the prompts will be like it'll give you longer answers and shit?
so if you go to Chat GPT and you log on and you don't have any subscription, I think you're using 3.5. It's either 3 or 3.5. And then with the subscription, they let you use 4. And 4 is it's more in depth. It has a lot more data, but it has a lot more real time data. So there's this option you can click search the web, and as it's coming up with your prompt, it'll search the web. So say you want to come up with like a business name or something. Say you want to make fucking cock rings, and you're trying to come up with a brand name. You type into Chat GPT, um, come up with a list of 20 brand names for a cock ring business that aren't in use, and you hit it'll like copyright check for you and do all that shit. I just downloaded 4 a week ago, so I haven't gotten too much into it, but
Yeah, I think for so many creative spaces, it's like game changing, right? Like I think for like let's say writing, right? Like say you have a general concept of a story that you want to write. You have the general character you want to write. You can like feed all that into Chat GPT. Be like, write me a first chapter, and then it can write the first chapter for you. I'm not saying use it, but you can look at how it goes about it, where it starts at, and then you can kind of get the ball rolling for
yeah,
yourself. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
so many people, they just are like, I don't know where to start. You know what I mean? Like, what do I even start with? Where do I even start the story at? It's like, and you can do that regenerate response thing. So you could be like, give me 3 variations of 3 different beginning
yeah.
chapters, and then you can kind of go, oh, well, I really like what they did with this one. I really like what it did with this one, and then you have your own ideas and you kind of combo it all together into like your actual first chapter.
Yeah, it's you made a good point there. That's always for me doing anything creatively, it's just getting started.
Yeah,
That's
and it and
once
it
you get some
completely negates
momentum.
that. Like
Yeah.
you just immediately can start with all of the anything you could ever ask for.
Yeah. That's the that's the like debate that goes on about it. Is a lot of the creative shit that people are doing is kind of like AI can also do, and a lot of it you can't differentiate. Like I forget the name. It's an AI that I have the Discord on my phone somewhere, but it's an AI where you type in like describe a picture and it'll come up with a picture. So you can be like Adam 22 fucking Hitler in the butt. And it'll give you a picture of Adam 22 fucking Hitler in the butt. And it's like how does it it's so fucking insane. And then have you heard that Drake song? The AI one?
Winter's Cold,
Not Winter's Cold. It was
Heart on My Sleeve with
yeah,
The
Heart on My
Weekend.
Sleeve.
Yeah.
It's such a good fucking song.
Yeah. But I don't know if you know this, like those were written by someone else.
Yeah, so they had to write it and
Yeah.
then do like a voice AI thing.
But I mean, Drake's voice obviously a fucking cheat code because
Yeah.
I've heard like especially the Winter's Cold one. Like I looked it up on Apple Music and like the guy has his like original song, so you can hear it with his voice and you can hear with Drake's. Drake's is just better.
Yeah.
I mean, objectively, like I
Yeah.
don't know, it doesn't even sound good with his voice, even though it's the exact same flow.
It's one of the most iconic voices ever.
Yeah, I mean, his voice is a cheat code, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and he's not coming to St. Louis on tour. It's a
Oh, is he
real
not?
bummer. He is not.
And Chicago already happened.
Yeah,
Fuck.
Chicago already happened.
I actually would really. He's like one of those I need to like see before they stop
Yeah,
because
yeah, for sure.
he's getting older. I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know how many. Do you ever think about how weird it is, like some of his bars and like what he talks about, and you're like, bro, you're 40.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I think that.
Is he 40 now?
Nah, I exaggerate, but I think he's like late 30s though.
I thought it was early 30s. He might be like 35 or something now. I forget. I remember there was like posts about his 30th birthday. I remember those. I don't remember when it was, but yeah, he Mac Miller was another one of those. Man, I had a fucking chance to see him. And
He's my goat.
yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. He's probably my favorite hip hop artist of all time.
Same.
Um but I was like 6 years ago and I was talking to this girl and we talked for like a couple months and she took me to she was treating me like a king. It was she took me to she bought 7 grams of weed off me, smoked it all with me at a fucking Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa concert that she paid for.
Damn.
So like
Where's she at now, bro? You need to wipe her up.
she's not all she's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
So and
One of
like
those.
she was cool, but it was like I don't it just didn't work out. She had very like strange expectations and I didn't really vibe with her. Like she was nice, but I also feel like some of it was kind of like manipulative. But
Oh, it's one of those like, hey, I did this nice thing for you, so if you're not
yeah.
doing nice things for me when I require it, then
Yeah, and
yeah.
there was this conversation we had where she was like, "I'm not happy, but you can make me happy," and I'm like, I don't know if I can.
That goes against every single relationship thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, I stopped talking to her, and a month went by without talking to her, and she hits me up. She's like, "I want to take you to Mac Miller!" Exclamation point, and I don't really want to like take advantage of that. I'm sure I'll be able to see Mac at another time, and then
Shit.
I
That's shitty,
should
bro.
have taken advantage of
That's shitty. Do
that.
you remember like what period of time in his career that was? Like
It
what album?
was after Good AM, which is my favorite album by him.
Really? That's your favorite?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn, why? What do you like
Um,
about it?
it's just the sound for me. I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm weird with music. There's a certain sound that almost always gets me, like a certain tempo and certain bass lines, and I don't know how to
What's your
describe it.
favorite song off it?
Um, I want to say Jump.
Oh, I love that song.
Probably Jump. I also really like
That's my
Rush
favorite too.
Hour and Ascension. When in Rome's just a straight up banger.
Yeah.
In the Bag is pretty good, but yeah, it's that, and everybody says watching movies probably.
Later I got to show you this Jump remix. This dude named JCO remixes it with dubstep and it's like actually 10 out of 10.
Oh, I gotta
Yeah, it's on SoundCloud too.
JCO
Yeah,
Jump remix.
it's like spelled out JAYCEEOH.
CEOH.
Yeah. It's incredible though. That song, like that was the original way I heard the song cuz I didn't really like listen to Good AM too much like when it first came out. And then I heard that remix and I was like, what the fuck Mac Miller song is this?
I had Mac Miller has a lot of I think the thing I like most about that album is Mac Miller has a lot of like boom bap type stuff.
Yeah.
And boom bap's not really like my favorite style. So you listen to Watching Movies, he's got a lot of like straight, like they're almost like old school rap songs. And then he's got Watching Movies, and he's got fucking Matches, and Someone Like You's a good song. That's a bonus track on that album.
He's got like almost like an ethereal feel on there where it's like a
Yeah.
lot of the songs get very like I like the slower songs on that one, Watching Movies more.
Yeah, he Watching Movies is such that. Um
You ever think about how Mac Miller is like Harry Potter and like we like grew up with him? Like the albums that when he released an album, it was like currently where I was at in life as well. And it was weird because it was like every album like was at like all of my same
yeah.
life stages, I guess,
Yeah.
which is fucking weird. And because now I'm like older than he was when he died.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel what you're saying on that. I've never thought about it like that, but
Yeah,
that
like he had senior skip day, right? Like
yeah.
it's like okay, captures the high school era. Then you have Blue Slide Park. It's like got that like after high school feel.
Mhm.
And then then he goes into Macadelic, and it's like when we're all starting to do like trippy drugs.
See, for me it was a little I don't think I got into Mac until were you 13 or 14 he
13.
graduated. So you're 2 years ahead of me. I didn't get into Mac until I think sophomore year, freshman or sophomore year.
Mm.
And I'm trying to think what Mac albums would have been out when you were a junior.
So so that junior is when I got into him. So it was I think he like was just about to release Blue Slide Park.
Okay.
Like he was like at that stage.
I'm
It
trying
was
to
Donald Trump was like his like number one single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loud was on Macadelic, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I think I listened to him a little bit like freshman sophomore year. That must have been Blue Slide Park and Kids. Um and then I think Loud was my favorite song by him for a long time because I was just in a straight up like bangers.
Oh, I like
Um,
Fight the Feeling and The Question with
I just
Lil.
listened to Fight the Feeling on the way over here.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
the with Kendrick, I mean, that was like before
Yeah.
Kendrick had blown up, which is sick. And then The Question, obviously, Lil Wayne.
They do some man. Mac and Kendrick did some shit when they got together, bro. God
For
is
real.
fair, nasty, sexy. That's one of my favorite songs by him too.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie though, my favorite album. So I after Mac died, I just stayed away from his two newest albums. I was like he was the artist. Like I'm always like, damn, that sucks they died, right? But like from him, like I legitimately would listen to his music and I would get sad as fuck.
Yeah, no, that was one of the celebrity deaths that definitely like I think
That
I
one hit me
cried
the
about it.
hardest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I
I did
cried about
definitely
it.
the day of. I was just like, damn, bro, because I was just like the loss of like he was like a good dude and just the loss of the potential because he was just like
Mm-hmm.
getting so much better every album. Like Swimming and right now is my absolute favorite album by him. I still every other day put it on and listen
Yeah,
to it.
swimming's good. It's so fucking. It doesn't sound like any of his other music.
Nah,
It
he
doesn't
was in a
even.
lane of his own at that
Yeah,
point.
it doesn't even sound like rap. He's got this song Ladders, I think. It's
That's
got
my
this
favorite song on
crazy,
it.
yeah, it's my favorite song on it too. It's got this crazy funky fucking sound to it.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
just
crazy. And the drop, it's just like it starts off slow and then just drops so hard, and you're
mhm.
just like, I can listen to that song on fucking repeat.
And it was a bummer when he went, man, because he'd struggled with drugs hard for so fucking long, and you could hear it in his music. He so much more light was coming into his life.
Yeah, he seemed like he was in a really like healthy, good place.
Yeah, and then fucking just out of nowhere, I think the
Some
guy
guy
that
gave him fentanyl.
yeah, the guy that fucking sold it to him is in jail now.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I think it was like his like longtime drug dealer. So
Yeah,
it's like, was it his fault? Like he probably didn't know what he was doing.
probably not. That's the
Yeah, I
thing.
mean
Like
it's shitty. It's a
fucking
shitty situation no matter what.
when you talk about pills and shit, fentanyl's fucking crazy now. I think in men underneath 45, I think number one cause of death is fentanyl. Number two is suicide.
Yeah, that's sad as fuck.
Both of those seem incredibly preventable.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bummer. I remember the day Mac died. I was working at a lawn care place, and the job fucking sucked. I go around and spray chemicals on people's lawns and shit. I had to wear long sleeves. It's fucking hot.
Yeah. Any
Um,
outside thing in the Midwest, it's like fuck, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have minded it as much, except I had to wear like fucking protective clothing so I didn't get the chemicals on me and get fucking dick cancer or something. Um, but I remember I was almost done with the day, and fucking PJ texted me. He's like, "What's up with your boy, bro?" I was like, "I don't fucking know. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Mac Miller died." And I was like, "Nah." I thought he was fucking with me because PJ be fucking with you sometimes. Um, I thought he was fucking with me, but nah, it was, and I had like a 45-minute drive home, and it hit fucking like, unlike any other celebrity death, man, it fucking hit. It was crazy, but I feel especially for you because you guys were the exact same age. I think Max 2 years older than I am.
Yeah, I think we're like, yeah, it's like literally point for point. He was doing trippy drugs when I was
Yeah,
graduated high school, making like deeper concept stuff. Like it was just like I don't know, it was crazy. I will never have that experience again. You know.
yeah, and that's another thing about. That's why I think Good AM is my favorite album by him because Good AM came out. I was 19, I think 19 or 20, and it was like I had this fucking chaotic childhood and I was all confused and like morally discombobulated and but I'd gotten away from a lot of the like toxic sources that kind of created that level of misguidance in me, and then Good AM came out and it was about this like like the song Ascension on it. It was about like transitioning from a really dark place into a more positive era. And I think that's probably one of the reasons, just because it really resonated with me. Like
That's totally fair.
The song Ascension, so fucking like the lyrics in it are so fucking powerful. And usually, like, it's not my favorite sound, but like whatever he did on it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like even like the past couple months, like the song "Woods" on Circles for
Yeah,
me was like
that's a good
one
one.
that I was just like on repeat. It was kind of where I was at mentally, and he just like his lyrics just got so good. Like he was always like good at rapping, but I feel like his ability to break down large conceptual or philosophical things and put it in such a bite-sized way where
Yeah,
you enjoy it and it flows really well. He's only matched by like J. Cole, like in that like
yeah,
level of like being able to take something that's like hard to talk about, kind of complicated, and break it down into a simple way for a song.
yeah. And they have a certain empathy about him in common too.
True, true,
And
true.
he's a really like deep, compassionate dude.
Yeah, seeing Mac Miller is like probably damn near one of the biggest one of my regrets in my life, honestly.
Yeah, I should have gone to that fucking concert, bro.
Yeah.
Fucking, because it wasn't too long after that he died. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I know, man, and it's really sad, bro. What's another celebrity death that you felt like hit you really hard?
Kobe got me.
Yeah, that was just out of the blue.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about Kobe was that it was just so fucking random, and him
Yeah,
having his daughter with him was kind of
yeah,
like,
that's just so fucked.
because I was never huge into basketball,
But
but
he's like iconic.
he's iconic, bro. And like Kobe, I think he came into the league in 99, 98, 99. So it was like, and I watched Sports Center like crazy growing up. I'd have the shit on repeat at night and fall asleep to. And it's like, even though I wasn't necessarily interested in basketball, you just heard about Kobe Bryant so fucking much. Um, Kobe was sad. This is kind of a deep cut, but Steve McNair, he was the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans
Oh, okay.
from like 97 to 2008 or something. I forget what years he played for him, but he was one of my favorite football players growing up. Dude was just a
Damn.
fucking tank. And so he was cheating on his wife, and he had a mistress. He put his mistress in an apartment, and he went to visit his mistress one night, and she killed him in his sleep.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he was like
crazy.
40 or something.
It's crazy how many of these like all of these I mean it's like not crazy really, but like it's just interesting to hear about all these athletes. They all have some fuck shit going on behind the
Oh
scenes.
yeah, I mean,
I'm
dude.
like even I'm like it's only a matter of time until we hear about Steve Curry's shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean his wife is she's a queen, but like goddamn.
Well, they have fucking issues from what I understand. I saw this on a it was a TikTok post. Like, there's some TikTok pages that'll go through like Reddit subreddits and like fucking do an AI voice the craziest stories in the subreddit. But somebody in the subreddit wrote about they worked at a furniture store, I think it was, and they worked at a furniture store in the Bay Area, and they didn't name the player, but they talked about how this couple came in, didn't get along at all, and the male said, you already have your cooking thing. What do you need this furniture thing for?" So it was
I'm
like,
dead.
I've heard a few stories about them not getting along, but I mean, you gotta like, me and Echo were talking about this on the pod a few weeks ago. Like, LeBron James, bro, the king, 6'8", 260 pounds of giant black cock, fucking super famous. Like, and he's what you don't hear dirt about LeBron James. From everything, from all accounts, he's pretty loyal to Savannah. But like,
Because he's got the hitman on deck.
yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing. You never know. But like, how many women want to fuck LeBron James? Like, how do you?
I feel like there's a certain point though where like it's human nature. If something is super available to you, it loses a lot of its appeal.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some truth to that. There's definitely some truth to that.
And it's like how many, it depends on the person, but like how many like one night stands you're gonna have before you're like, yeah, like
Yeah, fuck this.
it's not really for me, like it is what it is.
It definitely depends on the person, but man,
Yeah, I know some people they seem like to live in that
yeah,
chaos. Like I don't know, that's not me, but
and
all power to 'em.
if there's anything that would keep its appeal regardless of its ability, it's pussy.
Yeah.
availability, it's pussy. Like there's nothing.
I mean, you catch someone at a bad time,
Yeah.
fight with their wife, they're really drunk, they're down bad off their career or something.
Well,
It's like
it's
catch them when they're weak.
it's the most valuable fucking thing on earth. It's like the whole biological reasoning behind male motivation
Yeah, when
is to like get pussy. It's
gen,
insane.
yeah, I mean that's facts. Like I can't even remember where I saw it lately. It was like on some stand-up special, and they're like, behind every major innovation, there's a guy trying to get laid.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, you're probably right though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
you're probably right.
it's tough, and a lot of men lack awareness of that because like when I was younger, it was like at the forefront of my mind. Like you don't realize it until you kind of take a step outside of yourself and self-reflect on it. But like so much of what I was doing just revolved around getting pussy. And then it's it's counterintuitive because once you realize that, and once you prioritize other things and you kind of like stop living that way, shit gets so much fucking better. But like
Yeah, it's like for me, I'm just in a personal place where all I'm worrying about is peace of mind. Like that's
yeah.
like all I care about. It's like would I like a partner that is on the same page as me? Of course, but at the same time, it's like you can't force things, and it's like at I have dated people that I have like long term not the same goals, and it's just like it's such a headache. It's like it's
Yeah.
such a headache. It's just not worth it, man.
Yeah. For me for me it's always like I don't with women, I don't really care like if a woman just wants to be a bartender her whole life, I don't give a fuck. I'm cool with that.
I agree.
As long as she's like willing to come with me when the things that I want to do, I can kind of like I don't mind stepping into that role of provider and fucking just being the guy that does most of the work. But like for me dating, it's always been hard finding people that are just willing to communicate and hold themselves accountable. And I feel like I'm
What
pretty
what do you like? What's a example of that?
so let me think. See, how can I put this without being a dick? Um, so
Apply the filter, bro. Apply the filter.
so let's see. I had this very like psychologically and emotionally abusive situationship with a girl when I was younger, and I definitely had some relationships when I was younger where I was like a really big asshole, but like I was super down for this girl. Um, Eventually, I kind of started giving her a taste of her own medicine, but it was like textbook like uh, people use this word so much that it's kind of lost this meaning, and there's a lot of reasons why somebody may act like this, and I'm not in the term to make any diagnoses, but like or I'm not in the position to make any diagnoses, but like
You're gonna say the N word, aren't
I'm
you?
gonna say the N word. Um, but it was like just that behavior, the behavior and the communication styles and like all of
How
those
old were you
things.
guys?
Young.
Yeah.
I was 16, 17, but we kept in communication. Like the last time I talked to her was like a year ago, and it was a very like familiar conversation. Which because she, to a certain extent, she'd held herself kind of accountable, but it's a fucking mess. I don't really want to get into it for the sake of fucking not divulging her personal details.
Yeah.
But like, and I noticed that a lot. Like not just with for me, it seems like it's just with women because I date women, but like men also have. There's a lot of men in this culture that like fuck these hoes, money over bitches. I don't give a fuck about these bitches. You can never like you always have to be the masculine energy. The woman can never make a decision. There's like on both ends of the spectrum there's a lot of that. For some reason I feel like I run into it a lot, or just like for me in relationships in those initial stages where you're kind of figuring out boundaries and you're figuring out values, and there's this like subconscious power struggle going on, almost never makes it past that. And sometimes, I mean, I got to be culpable to a certain extent, but I'm so conscious of it and so active in like wanting to go about those conflicts the right way. And I do like a lot of like, I go to therapy now. I got money now. I'm being therapy. Um,
Relatable.
and like, it just seems like there's a lot of like, we were talking about it before the podcast. People are fucking a lot of it's just like loneliness and people don't know how to build together. Um, and I find that it's very hard to find. And I think when you live in a culture like that, and it is kind of like generally agreed upon, I think we might be moving in a different direction as a society in a sense, over the past like year or two. But like when you live in a culture that's like when you have a more traditional approach to dating and you're like a monogamous fucking heterosexual male. I don't really believe in marriage just because men get fucked so much when it comes to marriage, but like I believe in a lifelong partner, and I don't think that American culture is really set up to where that's widely available. And when you live in that environment, I think the best thing that you can do is to just kind of deprioritize that and find your inner peace like as an individual without you want to have your sense of community and your support system, but when you it's like the most powerful emotional connection a person can have is a lover, so you want to make sure you get it. You want to be in one of those situations with somebody who's like gonna be mindful of that and handle it with care.
100%. Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, it's funny because I've just been having this conversation with a lot of guys and girls. Like, I think this is an experience that many people are facing. They don't really understand what to do about it, and they're all like affected by it negatively. Um, like, I think just finding I feel like there's just a lot of I think people just have like a lot of expectations of each other nowadays. Like as if we're like pre-packaged robots that like don't like the reality is no matter who you date, they're gonna fuck up. They're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah,
They're
for
gonna
sure.
annoy you.
They're gonna hurt you,
They're gonna do things that you don't like. You're not picking. I mean,
and you're gonna do the same to
and
them.
you're gonna do the same
Yeah,
to them exactly. And it's like the point is you're picking what you're willing to put up with. Like what that the pros overweigh the cons by hopefully a
yeah,
large amount. Like that's the goal. I don't think that some people like realize that. Like I think they think that like there is a person out there where shit's sweet all the time,
yeah.
and it's like no, that does not
Well, a
exist.
lot of people connect to the excitement and the drama of like the push and pull. It's so like the feelings in a relationship like that are so intense, but the feelings aren't really supposed to be intense when you found the one. It's supposed to be peaceful. And it's obviously like you're going to have moments where you work through it, but it's like you said, you've been having the conversation with a lot of people, and I think it's a pretty common discussion in the American zeitgeist right now. And
Yeah.
I think a side effect of that is you get a lot of people who are just afraid to take the risk, and people get hurt like really bad once and then so afraid to get fucked over again. you get
Yeah.
you get a lot of those narcissistic qualities, not necessarily as a result of somebody who actually like suffers from narcissistic personality disorder, but just somebody acting out of like fear, self-preservation, and not really knowing the right way to go about it.
Well,
um
I think one thing too is there's like a lot of like I personally don't like TikTok, right? Like I think that everybody should do whatever the fuck they want, and like in that regard, this is just a personal preference for me. I don't like it. I think it's got way too much hive mind mentality. I
yeah,
mean, all social media does, right? But I just feel like it's the algorithm of TikTok and like the lack of like in other things, you'd see someone on Twitter, they'd post something, you'd go, that's stupid as fuck. And you'd roll into the comments and you're like, yeah, everybody else seems to agree. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that does exist on TikTok, but I
yeah,
just feel like it's less in your face. Like, it's like, if you want to, you can just keep flicking the thing,
yeah,
flicking the bean, and then you're just keep rolling down the thing. And then it's like, oh, well, they spent 10 more seconds on this one than the last one. So let me feed them another one of those. It's just the algorithm is like, I just don't like it. Like,
yeah. The algorithm's super invasive.
right?
I went through a point a couple years ago where I deleted all of my social media accounts and I made new ones with the intention of being like very mindful of the content that I interacted with, to kind of like manipulate my algorithm
Mm,
to be a little bit healthier.
that's interesting.
Um and I did that. That was when I downloaded TikTok. So I've had TikTok for a couple of years, and with TikTok, like if you get into a certain point of view, you will hear nothing that
But
challenges
that,
that
right?
point of view.
Yeah, and that's just like not good for
Yeah.
anybody. Like
So
that's terrible.
yeah, a lot of times you have to see that show. It's a dating show. There was a meme made out of it recently with the chick that looks like an ogre. Um,
I don't know what you're talking about. Is it Love Island?
it's whatever,
Whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get on TikTok and you see a lot of whatever and like a lot of like red pill shit. Um,
Yeah.
which is like basically like
Oh, I know what red pill shit
yeah,
is.
like women aren't shit and
Yeah,
fucking
it's not good.
women are childish and all this other shit and like there's no nuance in that. And like I give women a hard time on the podcast because I'm fucking hilarious. You bitches know I love you. But,
We
but
love women.
yeah, but there's no nuance. Like with that show, you hear a lot of the same like Andrew Tate kind of spouted a lot of the same narratives.
Oh yeah, they all
Um,
recycle like the same thing
yeah, they
too.
all recycle like the same shit, and there's no
They make the same
nuance.
point like 100 times. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, like
and often like some of the shit that they're saying might apply to some people, but they present it in a very general way to where it's like all women this applies to. And like no, there are plenty of good women out there. I mean, after high school, my dating experience was mostly like nothing really worked out, and there were a couple girls who were like eh, I don't think we're very healthy people or kind of hypocritical or whatever, but most of it was just having very like different directions that we wanted to go in life or very different world views. And they were all like good people. Like I have girls, a lot of girls that I talk to, I don't really have an active relationship with them, but there was never any animosity. And like, if I run into them, I talk to them and everything's cool. And I feel like with a lot of that red pill shit, you kind of, it just
they
deep.
make you think that it's like that they're these nice girls don't exist, which is just not true.
Yeah, it's not true at all. It's not
Yeah.
true at all. There are plenty of good women out there, and it's so toxic because it devalues women, and then there are men who treat the shit as gospel, and they run into a sweet girl and they treat that girl as the way you would treat somebody if you fucking devalued their whole entire
I feel
demographic.
like it's like a similar thing to like what with Jordan Peterson. Like I think that they say things and they'll be like, I like don't hold me to the percentage amount, but say they say 40% of things they say are right. Like I would agree
Yeah,
with them, and then they would like 60% of it, and it varies based on the podcast and the context and et cetera, et cetera. But the point is that it's like I think that it's like it's weird that we can't be in a space where we can't like it's important to watch things that you don't necessarily agree with. And so I remember like I had a big breakup a couple like 7-8 months ago, and then all of a sudden my YouTube is like feeding me this shit. You know what I mean? Because I
yeah,
probably clicked like one video. But then over time, I just started to realize I'm like, man, this is kind of making me like bitter. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
and I don't ever want to be bitter. I'm overall like a very positive and happy person. So I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to watch this shit anymore. It's not good for me. And but it takes critical thinking skills to be able to do that, and unfortunately a lot of people lack the ability to critically think for themselves
Yeah,
and go, yeah, well, this guy made one good point, but then this other point, like a lot of the points they make are like only applicable to someone if you're like a fucking millionaire. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
okay, like yeah, you can navigate your life like that as a millionaire because you're a fucking millionaire. Like that's not realistic for the average person anyway.
and it's hard even like to even like I feel like to even hold like some of these guys to the standard of where they don't generalize too bit, because how do you even communicate on the level where everything you fucking say is right and everything you say is applicable in every situation? Like there's gonna be things that they say that like apply in some scenarios and supply in others,
It's
and I
just
think
like you said, it's not nuanced.
yeah, there's no like, and a lot of that I think falls on the person consuming the content is
Yeah.
they don't take a nuanced perspective to like approach to listening to the things that they're saying. um
One good point I feel like those podcasts make, which is and obviously like it depending on essentially I didn't ever really like think about like the respect aspect. Respect not meaning like, oh, you do whatever I say kind of respect, but more of just like the ability like your girl ultimately needs to think of you as like a competent person. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That you are going to be able to like competently handle some situation that comes along
yeah,
that is shitty and they would like your help with. And that's something that, I've had relationships in the past where I felt like I didn't necessarily have that. And
yeah,
so
for
like
sure.
looking back, I was like, oh, that's kind of like a core issue. And so now it's like I can be able to. So like I want to be clear, like there is good points. There's a lot of bad
Yeah,
ones as well. Yeah, like when they get super into the like body count and all this stuff. I'm like, guys, like it's just like it's super arbitrary. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there are obviously certain contexts where I get where they're coming from, but in most contexts, it's like, bro, it's like we're all like adults now. It's like,
Yeah, people love to fuck, man.
yeah, it is, yeah, and that doesn't really like ruin someone's ability to be, um, like committed in the future anyway. Like I don't believe that. I don't think that
No. Yeah.
like obviously like yeah. So it's definitely a very nuanced conversation. But yeah, I mean, and to be fair, it's like I've had friends that are guys that treat girls like shit all the time, and
Yeah.
you're like, all right, and you like talk to them about it, and you're like, bro, what are you doing, man? And like,
Often they do very well with women.
yeah,
It's
well,
interesting.
it's that thing. It's because they don't really give a shit, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's a problem on both sides. Like I think that girls need to I like they need to girls ultimately have the power to bring back chivalry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
for
like
sure.
they're the ones they choose who they go on dates with. Like
Yeah.
guys just kind of shoot their shot. The girl says yes. It's like, well, if you guys all just kind of started going, yeah, we want somebody that shows us this level of respect and chivalry, then that would become the norm again, right? Like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
I would prefer things to go back to that way too. It's like I think that's just like the healthier way of going about things.
Yeah, for sure. I'm romantic as fuck if the situation allows for it, but a lot of times that'll get taken advantage of, and it's like when a lot of the red pill stuff kind of has men devaluing women or some men devaluing women, and on the other hand, like another side effect of social media is that women typically just have so many more fucking options than we do. And it's
Yeah,
so much easier for them to get laid and get affection and attention. So
I
when
know.
you
I've
have
like gone on my friends that are girls like their Hinge and shit. And
it's
it's
insane.
like what the fuck,
It's
yo? Like this
insane.
is it's crazy out here.
Yeah.
The amount of shit they're getting sent is like insane.
Hot girls are like famous. They're like local celebrities, every single one of them. Like
Yeah,
when's the last time you saw a hot homeless woman?
yeah. I mean, never. I mean,
Never.
somebody would definitely take
Never.
care of you.
So there's that, and like you mentioned the respect thing, a lot of like
I mean, have you ever seen a hot homeless dude though? I don't feel like there's like to be fair, I don't think there's like objective attractive homeless dudes running around either. To be fair,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's
I think
hard.
part of being homeless is like you're not getting a haircut and shit. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
guess
You're
I
not
guess when
shaving.
you're dirty and fucking ungroomed and shit, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
But like when you have a lot of options, you tend to devalue the thing that you have options in.
That was kind of a point I wanted to make earlier. Is I do think part of like our negative dating culture that is happening now is also from just the grass is greener on the other side mentality.
Yeah,
It's like, why put up with this person that is doing this like one or two things I don't like, right? Well, like in the past, right? You're in a city or a town or whatever. As your ability to date someone is within your ability to meet them in person. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And now it's not like that. It's like it's you can open an app and have infinite options available to you a lot of times, and it's like why put up with anything? But the reality is, to build something with somebody, you're going to have to put up with
yeah,
something. So it's like it's just kind of like I think it's just a giant conundrum. And I think we're just living in the, like, to be honest, dating apps like weren't even a thing prior to my 3.5 year relationship, and like afterwards they're like the most common way statistically
yeah,
people meet now.
yeah,
I think that it'll switch off eventually. I think it's kind of like I genuinely think it's a fad, because the more people you talk to, most of them are like, yeah, I'm like on here, but like I don't expect shit to happen. You
yeah.
know what I
Most
mean?
most people are annoyed with dating apps.
Like
Almost
I think
every
everybody can agree it kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah,
It's
and
just a meat market.
it's a meme, or it's a really shallow
Yeah,
way to. I would fuck this person. I would not fuck this person. I would fuck this person, or some do it.
yeah.
I might fuck this
And
person.
it's
I might fuck this
sometimes
person.
I see someone in a picture and I would go, yeah, I'm not like that attracted to them, but I meet them in person, I'm super attracted to them because it's
Hmm.
like their energy, what they like to talk about, who they are. So it's like but I would never even give that person like a chance based on just the
Yeah,
physicality.
just their picture.
Yeah, so it's just kind of shit. Yeah, I don't like it. I've gone on like a bunch of different dates from dating apps. I've actually met a lot of definitely better it like I started putting, like, one thing I was doing for a while that I think was just like stupid of me was I was being like super general about like things I like to do. I wasn't being specific, and now I'm just like, nah, like I'm me. I'm gonna just like put the nerdiest shit that I like on here,
Yeah,
and like the things that I genuinely like fuck with. And if someone discounts me because of that, then we were never going to get along anyway. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. And so I found by doing that, it has increased my ability to like find cool people. Like it's just like even if I go on a date someone where like, yeah, this ain't it, it's like we still got along great. Like
Yeah.
we still liked a lot of the same shit and they were cool as fuck.
The most successful bio that I ever used on dating apps was it was one sentence. The sentence was tall enough to date women.
Yeah, I mean
And
girls
it worked
ultimately
like a fucking charm, bro. It was
girls ultimately want someone that's funny. Like
yeah.
funny is like I would say if you're like funny and you got like a little money and you're like have a fun life, like that trumps for girls like being
Yeah.
attractive. Like I think attractive is way less important for girls than
Yeah,
like
yeah,
physicality
for sure.
attractive.
For sure. It's like a biological thing. Women are generally more attracted to personality and
Yeah.
intellectual stimulation, emotional connection, and then the ability to provide. So like it's weird like they're
Which is crazy. That's
definitely
kind of like a controversial take, even though it's
yeah.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at
It's true.
animals throughout history, that's just kind of how it like goes, right?
Yeah, because a lot of guys will get like I mean there are definitely girls out there who are like straight up gold diggers. Do not give a fuck about anything
But
aside from your money. But
it's so fucking obvious though, right?
yeah,
Especially like I lived in California, you can see that shit coming from like a
yeah.
mile away, dude.
It's I mean it's like biologically natural for women to want a man that has something going for himself and interesting and has the ability to take care of her. Just like I don't date ugly bitches. Sorry.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it
I
is
mean, but
it
you
is
will
what it
meet.
is.
There's so many hot girls you meet though, and as soon as you get to know their personality, it's like like the level of hotness does not even like matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like there's a level of just like all they talk about is themselves and
Yeah.
they don't have anything to like they don't have any like really interests like outside of drinking or something. It's just
Yeah.
like there's certain things like that where you're just like, yeah, like I would never get along with this
Well,
person.
it's definitely I mean, when you look good your whole fucking life, bro, being, like, objectively gorgeous is a fucking cheat code. It's
Yeah.
like it's
I
like
mean,
you get
you hit the lottery, right? But I mean, we all have the ability to like get better. I mean, especially with like modern technology and everything now, it's like, man, you can get like anything fucking changed now if you really wanted
yeah,
to.
yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. I did want to transition to something, and I wanted to ask you, like, when's the last time you made music?
The last time I made music, let me see, I still write from time to time. I wanna say the last time I recorded and dropped a song, I would have been 23, so it's been a little over 3 years.
Damn,
And that song was Running Man, the
I
Running
think I
Man
heard that one.
freestyle. That's my favorite song by me just because I really, like, figured out my sound on that one. I took, like I had a weird relationship with music towards at that period of time because I was really starting to get to know myself pretty well, and there's this thing where, like, I rap, and sometimes I say shit, and I'm just like, "I don't fucking like, that's a dick ass thing to say," and it's like, in the context of a joke, it would be cool, but, like, in the context of a song, like, I don't know if this is, like, the kinda, like, vibe I wanna put out into the world, and if I say something else, it's gonna, like it just doesn't belong in rap music, you know? It
You're
doesn't.
just talking about being more intentional.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I had to really look at my fucking relationship with music because a lot of being successful as a rap artist, a lot of it's image based, a lot of it's like controversy based, and there are definitely ways around it. But like it got to the point where like when I first started making music, I really enjoyed it. And then I kind of started treating it as this thing that I wanted to make like a career out of it and I wanted to be really successful in it. And I started treating it like a job basically. And I'll be the first to admit I'm not like the best freestyler. I'm not always on creatively. Like I really have to be in a mood to write a good song in that mood. Like sometimes I'll sit down and try to let the muse come to me and the muse comes to me not very often. A lot of like most of the songs that I wrote I was on acid. It's like
Oh,
a
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's like a fucking cheat code for me. I can write some bars and I'm on acid. Um with like shrooms, it's different. If I do shrooms, I can't like it's harder for me to write a song. But generally, so I'd have to do acid to like write music that I fucked with. Um, and I write every now and then now. Um, and I think like as I'll probably put something out as I get things finished. Um, but it was something like I didn't feel like it. I got burnt out on it. You know,
Yeah.
I got, and I think that was, mostly because of how I was treating it and like how like seriously I was taking it, because it wasn't like I wasn't originally just trying to be a rapper. I was just trying to fucking I just rap sometimes. It was fun, and then I started taking it when I got um when trucking came out, and it got like it's got like 12,000 plays on it now or something. And I was like, "Oh, I could fucking like." People started like it made some noise, mostly in like the online community. The way that I did that was like, so you're in marketing, like you
Mhm.
capture people's email addresses and you sign them up for a newsletter.
Yeah.
And I prompted to where I was like, I forget what the prompt was. It was like a free download or a free fucking 10% off merch. Or I didn't even have merch. It was some like I basically tricked people into giving me their fucking email address. So like I got all these email addresses. I still have them in a fucking Clipchamp account somewhere. And whenever I drop music, I just put the song in the fucking email address. And fucking it was like I spent like $100 on Facebook ads. Ended up getting something like I got like 30, 40,000 email addresses. I could probably sell that list for a decent amount of money. Um, and then I'd send them, and people would listen to it. So it wasn't necessarily the buzz that those people were making on social media. It was like people within the artist community in St. Louis saw like, oh, this has a lot of plays on it. Like, let me check this out. And fucking, you get a lot of positive reinforcement when you're doing numbers.
Yeah,
So like
100%.
a lot of it's like a lot of it was like numbers based, and I didn't really like fucking I didn't really like that either. But like so I started taking it seriously from then, and it was like I know like fucking when I when I'm in my zone, I can rap my ass off, um, and so I started taking it seriously, and then just it kind of fizzled out for me. And I always like what I figured out is that music was fun, but my passion in life wasn't music. It was general creativity and this journey towards financial and temporal freedom. So like I like doing creative shit. I don't want to be put in the box or like be like I want to have businesses and real estate and my podcast. This podcast is probably the favorite like my favorite creative outlet that I've ever had just cuz conversation and good stories are probably like my favorite things, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, this is my first podcast, but I definitely really like it. It's nice to just be able to have like a long form conversation.
Yeah, it's a fucking blast. And people can learn a lot when they tune into these things. So it was like I stopped like considering myself a rapper and just started considering me fucking Andrew Pikatowski doing the fuck whatever the fuck he wants to do in the moment. And I became a lot more present with shit. And as I became more present with shit, I just music kind of fell out of my list of priorities. But every now and then, I write a little song. It's fun.
Yeah, no, I like I feel you 100%. Kind of for me, it was literally like I just realized like what it would take to be successful with it, and I wasn't willing to give up every other aspect of my life for it.
Yeah,
And
it's
that was like really it for me. I was just kind of like I love doing this; it's fun, but I don't like it's not it like you kind of reach that point where you realize what it's going to take to like be successful with it. And you got to be honest with yourself of whether you're willing to commit to it or not.
yeah, and it's a lot of like success in the music industry is it's a lot of like some of the attention that comes. I mean, anytime that you're a public figure and you have fame, a lot of the attention that comes with you is like negative, but like and especially like the rap community, a
Well,
lot of
that's I assume you're mostly talking about here in St. Louis, like this community of artists, especially when we were like doing it a lot. It's much different than in California. It's just because it's like ultimately pretty small. Like you know what I
yeah,
mean? So everyone knows each other really well. In other places, there's like multiple little groups. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so
Well,
it's different. You can kind of like shop around and find your people a little bit more.
yeah, it wasn't necessarily like I'm talking about more like in the upper echelons of the industry, where artists where you may have never met and they're not from your city, artists that you like listen to on a daily basis that have like enough clout to have like a real notable career out of music. A lot of the attention that comes with that is a lot of it's just like a lot of it's really negative. A lot of rap music's like really like fucking dark, and a lot of the things that are promoted in it are just like entirely against everything that I believe in. So it's like it's hard for me to find my lane within that.
I definitely had like a drinking problem when I was like doing that stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like everywhere you go, people are just giving you free alcohol, and then you're like, well, that's like one of the major perks of me being here. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
like me doing this DJ set or something. It's like, oh, I get to drink for free all night. But yeah, it's like it's not sustainable, man. At least not for me.
Yeah, that's the thing about music is it's a party product. So, if you're really successful with it, you're touring like crazy, which by all accounts is fucking exhausting. People are giving you free drugs out the wazoo. And one thing I've noticed since I kind of like stopped taking it so seriously is that I write a lot more. I don't record. I haven't recorded at all in a pretty long time, but I write a lot more, and the actual bars tend to come to me kind of easier because it's like I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just
It's
kind
not
of
like there's some like large expectation on
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. There's
It's
a
like
lot
I'm
less
just doing this
pressure.
for fun.
Yeah, yeah. And I like getting together. I like getting together with the guys and freestyling every now and then.
Yeah,
And
same.
fucking
Nothing
yeah.
like having a couple beers and
Oh
and just
no,
freestyling with the homies. It's
nothing like
always a classic.
nothing like
I
kicking
was
a
just doing
free.
that with like Anthony recently.
He's one of the best freestylers I've ever
He's
met.
still good. He's still got
I'm
it.
sure he is. I'm
He's
sure. I
still
don't think
got
you
it.
lose that. Him? Did you ever meet Gabe Slocum?
No, I never did.
Gabe Slocum. I lived with him a little bit in high school. He's one of my close friends in high school. He's still fucking. I still see him every now and then. He took a very interesting path in life. He was in the Hare Krishnas.
No, what's that?
I believe it's like a subset of Hinduism. They go because Hinduism has like a lot of Bibles, right? It's not just the Bhagavad Gita.
I actually don't know too much. I know it's like in Bali. I was obviously there, but I didn't like they didn't talk to me about it too much. I probably
Okay.
could have asked more questions, but I just didn't at the time, which I kind of regret, honestly. I like learning stuff like that.
Yeah, if there's any religion who that I align with like more than any of the others, it's definitely Hinduism.
Really? What why?
Well, there's this like reincarnation belief, and a lot of it, like Hinduism, just makes the most sense to me. There's not this jealous fucking guy in the sky who's going to torture you for eternity if you don't fucking worship him. Um, Hinduism is like God is everywhere and everything, and it's more treated as like a source of energy. And there's like I forget who the main god is. I know for the Hare Krishnas, it's Krishna. I don't know if Hare Krishnas are like just Hindus, or I don't know what the difference is there, or if there is one. But the God is everywhere and in everything. So God is like it's personified for the sake of telling the story, but it's treated as if it's an energy or this untangible like creative force rather than a guy in the sky who like comes up with rules for you, and they have values and shit. But the thing is, like, it's all karma based Hinduism. So like, and it's basically the belief is that we're all nodes of one collective. We're all nodes of one consciousness experiencing itself simultaneously. So that's where the idea of the collective consciousness comes from, is because the thing that we're all connected to is that's all that there is. Like, I am you, you are me. We're just experiencing ourselves. Time is unlinear. We're just experiencing the same thing, experiencing itself simultaneously through different perspectives.
Yeah, I've actually like a lot of songs sample stuff that kind of like says stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I've always kind of like I call myself agnostic because I'm like I'm open to
yeah,
energy and the higher power and everything like that, but I don't necessarily like believe in any of like the man-made ones that we currently roll with.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm not completely educated on every single one that exists, so maybe my opinion will change as time goes on and I learn more. But I do agree, though. I would say Buddhism for me. I really like Buddhism because I just like the fact that it's like it's more of a way of life than religion. It's
yeah,
like hey. these are like ways that you can live your life, and like these are ways that we feel like you can find happiness. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, Buddhism and well, Hinduism and Buddhism are pretty similar from what I understand, and then like
but the
Buddhism,
Hinduism has the collective conscious
yeah,
aspect, which I do fuck with.
and
I
like
mean,
the
I like the
reincarnation aspect is big, and
mm,
that's where like all the karma ties into. So say you're Hitler, so it's basically like the more spiritually out of sync you are in your life, you will move your next life will be a life that like aligns with that. So if you're like a fucking monk or something in this life, and then your next life you're something that's more spiritually aware, and then basically it gets to the point where you've lived every life there is to live in the universe, and you like become the universe. Some trippy shit.
that is cool.
But
And it's like you're like seeing, you're always getting faced with the lesson that you need the most
yeah, yeah,
in
for
your next
sure.
reincarnation.
But Buddhism and Stoicism, I notice, have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's just the philosophy of what we need as, like, at the end of the day, we're humans, right? And we need certain things to be happy. Like, I genuinely believe, like, one thing I've been spending so much time this year trying to master, and I will for the rest of my life, is the art of detaching from the outcome.
Yeah,
It's like doing things without the expectation of this outcome is what I need to happen or want to happen, because ultimately it's just setting yourself up for disappointment. And when you go into things with an open mind and you're not attached to the outcome, it just becomes so much more fun. Like life
yeah,
just, it can surprise you, and you'll fall into things that you didn't necessarily like. You would have probably just not done it because the outcome was not something that you were necessarily wanting at the time. But because you were like, well, I have no expectation of the outcome, I'm willing to see what happens, and be pleasantly surprised.
yeah. Well, it's so like, and it's another thing our culture isn't really set up for is just being present. And it's a lot of other cultures do a very good job of this, because there's not like in a capitalist society you're always trying to you want to make sure you can sustain yourself and support yourself, and it's hard in modern day America to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna have my little land and I'm gonna grow my own food and fucking it's really hard to do that because it still costs money that you got to make somehow. So and like and there's also like when it comes to developing values and behaviors and stuff, there's a thing where like you have to process the past to be able to do that. So like there's this delicate balance between like processing the past, basking in the present, and then planning for the future. But for the most part, like staying present really is the key.
I agree. Yeah, it's just like taking a moment to, like, I find myself doing it all the time. At least it's like one thing you can kind of do to get better at it is like when you're on your phone and like things like this, and you're just like sometimes I'll sit there and it's like you wake up in the morning and I'm like immediately on my phone. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like instantly my day has like a specific vibe attached to it
Yeah,
based on what I looked at on my phone. And now I'm having to like, instead of coming from like a neutral playing field and then going from there to hopefully something more positive, it's like I'm having to start off down here and slowly work my way back up just because I saw like one thing I didn't want to see too
yeah.
early on in the day. And you're very susceptible to energy like right as you wake up.
Yeah, well, there's a neurological reason behind that when you get on social when you check your phone, and like it's really hard not to do, especially like if you use your phone and as an alarm clock or
Right?
something,
You gotta look at it.
and it's already fucking you got to look at it, but like it's already in your hand. I might as well check my texts and my phone calls and my emails and all this shit. But like when you check your phone in the morning, you get a dopamine hit.
It's like a gamble.
Yeah,
It's like, is something lit gonna happen or is
yeah, so,
something
yeah,
shit gonna happen? I guess we're gonna find out.
and you get that dopamine hit, and then that dopamine spikes first thing, and then your body's going to try to find homeostasis, so it's going to go backwards from that point.
Yeah, it's like it's shit though, because it's like, dude, I'm just trying to eat my cereal, man.
Yeah,
It's like it's not necessary. I don't like having to go from a negative. It's like, yeah, obviously it's great when you're going from it's just positive. But when it's a negative thing, it's like, damn, my whole first half of my day, I'm having to like recalibrate myself.
yeah. Well, even when it is positive, the first thing you do in the morning is like fuck yeah, and then everything else is kind of like, well, that thing that I fucking woke up to was fucking great. Like, I want
That's
some
fair.
more of that.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Huberman has a lot of good
Oh, you watch him too?
yeah, I listen to his podcast from
Yeah,
time
I
to
fuck
time.
with him.
He but a lot of his like morning routine
Yeah,
info that he gives you is
circadian
pretty
rhythm and
good.
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
circadian rhythm and like just
Wait, have you
looking
watched
into
his
the
stuff on
sun.
porn?
No.
Oh, dude, you should definitely check that out. It's definitely, I feel like he does such a good job of talking about it without politicizing it.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I actually we were talking about this a couple episodes ago. I stopped watching porn.
Yeah, I don't really do it at all either. I mean, I'll do it like occasionally, but it's not anywhere near when I was younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's not good for your. It's like almost it almost acts in a way as similar to cocaine, where cocaine like ruins your ability to hit high levels of dopamine because it like blocks the receptor.
Yeah.
Porn kind of does that for you sexually, but in a different way. And it can actually like, I mean, it's like turning you into someone that ultimately likes watching other people have sex than having sex yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird because our brain is like a learning machine, right? So it's just like constantly learning and adapting to whatever is being fed into it. So because of that, you're feeding porn into it. It's like, well, we're gonna make do with what we got.
Yeah, well, it sets real unrealistic expectations for sex too. I think unless you're in a society where everybody watches porn, because I feel like people are just freakier from having seen porn,
True.
and like their approach to sex is a lot more like they're
Like they
just
get bored quicker.
yeah, well, they get bored quicker and they're down for some shit. But that's one of the things with porn is like eventually, like the regular for some, it doesn't work like this for everybody. Like I never really got into some crazy shit, but like eventually, like just watching these two people have sex isn't enough. They got to be fucking stepbrother and sister, and
Yeah,
like
that shit's
eventually,
so weird. And like the stepmom shit.
yeah, eventually that's not enough. It's got to be a stepdad and a stepson banging the fucking stepdaughter, and then
Yeah,
eventually we
it
need a
just keeps going and
gangbang, and
going
then
and going.
eventually we're gonna need you to shit in somebody's mouth, and it's like
You're
fucking
like, how did we get here, bro?
it gets intense. There are people, I guess, that they got so deep into porn that like adults didn't do it for them, so they had to get into child porn,
Oh God.
and they started out as like not fucking pedophiles and eventually became pedophiles.
Oh God.
Yeah,
That's
there are
is that
people that
real?
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. There are people. It's weird how it interacts because there are like I never really had like I don't think I ever really had a porn addiction. Like I just decided a few weeks ago I was gonna stop porn. I haven't even like.
Yeah, same.
Of course, I still have my spank bank. I have my nudes from women who I've been like
Spank a bit.
I've
That's a
been
great
involved
term.
with personally, but like I use my imagination a lot anyway to beat my schmeat.
That's a better way to do it. I mean, at least you're flexing your imagination at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I kind
Get two
of
birds, one stone.
I kind of always have. Even when I did watch porn, I was like, it's
What if
hard for me to.
what if she had wings?
Yeah, well, it's hard for me. It was hard for me to find a video because it had to be like I wanted to be a video that with a girl that looked like a girl that I wanted to fuck with a dick that looked like mine. So it was like,
Oh, you got the specific
yeah,
standards. That's funny as
I
fuck.
had to really be able to put myself in the shoes of
Yeah,
the
it's funny as fuck. I actually was watching like a Joe Rogan and he was talking about this and he's like, yeah, one time I took Adderall and like I went to go like masturbate or something and he's like I knew there was a problem where like an hour in I just still couldn't find it a video I wanted
yeah.
to watch. He's like, what the fuck is going on? Like I can't choose one video that I'm down to watch.
Yeah, Adderall has an interesting relationship with sex because it makes for me it makes my phallus very small. And then but when I get aroused it's like I took a Viagra.
There you go.
Yeah, I had
So
sex on
you got the cheat code.
yeah, well I had sex on Adderall one time. I'm fucking it was great. It was fucking awesome. I
Is it kind of
shot
like where like but you can't finish really, right?
Oh no, I've finished. I,
I don't think I've
I
I mean
guess if you're
I feel like I definitely have. I just can't remember.
I've definitely beat my meat on it and had a hard time finishing, but like the one time I actually had sex on it was fucking I shot from the pussy to the headboard. I
God
shot the
damn.
load. Yeah, I was a little bit sexually frustrated at the time, but I also feel like the Adderall had something to do with it. I
It
was just,
definitely did, bro.
yeah.
I swear to God, when I take Adderall, it literally makes me feel like I feel like the world's moving in slow motion.
Yeah, well it's
And I'm just
fucking
like, can you hurry the fuck up? Like
yeah.
it drives me absolutely crazy. I'm like, when people at like the red like it's like a red light turns green and they like take a couple seconds to press their fucking
Yeah.
gas pedal. I'm like, why do I want to fight them? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is like not a normal level of
Well
frustration.
that's the reason I never really got like too into it cuz it does like feel great. Adderall is fucking
I don't ever want to be reliant on something like
yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like if I start taking it when I write, and then now it's like, okay, well, I can't
Yeah.
write unless I, have to have Adderall. It's like, fuck that, dude. That sounds terrible.
And I got to tweaking on it, bro. Like I would do like the thing where I like talk hella fucking fast, and I'm like, there's like this dead look on my face, where I'm just like hyper focused on shit. But like the thing that really did it for me is like now I can't really do drugs because I'm a truck driver and I get fucking drug tested all the time. But I can't do some drugs. Adderall's one of them. But the thing for me was the come down, bro. I was such a dick.
Yeah,
I
once your
was,
brain's just like been sucked dry, like
yeah,
a vacuum of like all the happy chemicals.
yeah, yeah, such a dick. And
I mean, it's ultimately a lesser form of meth, right?
yeah,
So
there's like one difference in the chemical structure.
yeah, it's like ultimately pretty much you're just getting a small microdose of meth.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we just are like, yeah, like take this, Johnny. You're 12.
yeah,
Yeah,
or take this, you're 6.
yeah.
You
It's like
know, it's
that
like
shit's
you
crazy
get
that
it
we do
young.
that.
I got a prescription Ativan when I was like 19 or 20. Um, I had fucking I don't know. I think my life just sucked, so I felt anxious. But I got a prescription Ativan. Hold on, this is TG. Hello.
Hey, Drew, you still doing the pod?
Yeah, bruh.
I was going to say, shit, you got the spot, but I need to get in.
Okay, we'll wrap it up. Give me like 2 or 3 minutes.
All right.
All right. Um, but yeah, I'd fucking oh, I took the Ativan basically, which is basically like Xanax. I took it for a month. It said take once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once at night. Take as needed. Um, so I did that, and then at the end of the month, I was like, well, I'm having way too much fun, and then I got. So I just quit cold turkey, which benzo and alcohol are the only ones that will like kill you.
Oof.
Opiates will like you'll have some problems, you'll get sick, but it won't kill you. Like benzo will fucking kill you. So I quit the shit cold turkey, and I was up for 3 days straight. I shit you not, I did not get 1 wink of sleep. I was dry heaving out of my asshole.
Oh
So
my
like you know
god.
how like when you puke but you don't actually puke.
Yeah,
I was like doing that but with shit.
that's terrible.
Yeah, I didn't eat for 3 days. Eventually,
You didn't eat for 3 days. You didn't sleep for three
didn't eat
days.
for 3 days and
Bro,
sleep for
what
three
did you
days.
do?
Fucking sat in my room and cried.
That sounds
Um,
terrible,
it was
bro.
it was fucking horrible. Sickest I've ever been in my life.
Oh my god.
Story ends. Money Boy had to take a piss test. He invited me to his piss test for some reason. We went and got drinks.
Some homie shit.
Yeah, we went and got drinks afterwards. I
So
took some
you're on a
alcohol. Went to sleep.
3-day. Wait, what? So you wait. So you cold turkey quit. 3 days, no sleep, no food,
Yeah.
driving out of your asshole, and you thought, let's go get a drink.
Yep. And then that did it. The fucking because my
That's
whole
crazy.
central nervous system was all fucked up. So when I got that central nervous system depressant in my fucking system, then I was good. I went to sleep, went to work the next day. Everything was fine.
I'm glad it helped you though.
The really cool podcast on everything. Max, what's your fucking shit people can follow you on?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Max_Nebula. And through there you can find my bio for my Wattpad if you want to check out my book and stuff.
Yeah, motherfuckers. Max, thanks for doing this, bro.
Thanks for having me on.